I'm Rhett.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're the House Dads. Because we're dads who sell houses.
But we're also husbands, business owners, sports freaks, Christians,
friends, marketing nerds, TV show bingers, and so many more things.
Like so many of you, we're just trying to do it all. We're trying to do it well.
And that's what we're here to talk about. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the House Dads podcast. I'm your co-host, Rhett. We have here our other co-host, Brandon. We took a little hiatus, took a little break.
Yep.
We were practicing what we preach.
That's right.
And resting and just enjoying time with the fam and the holidays. But we're back. Not only are we back, we're back with a guest episode. Not only a guest episode, but they are the most requested guests yet.
100%.
They are the most expensive guests yet. We had to pay a lot of money to get them here.
Fly them in, the whole deal.
Yes, travel expenses. They requested certain food in the back, back area. But no, it is our better halves, the house moms. It's our wives. I have here next to me my beautiful wife, Brandee. And Brandon, I won't steal your thunder.
Yes,
your wife.
and obviously my better half as well. Courtney is with us today. You guys are in for a treat. Glad that you're here. It's going to be a special one.
It is. Brandon, you want to give a disclaimer about the...
Yeah, listen, if you're just listening today, it may be your day to tune in and watch, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, however you can tune in. You're in for a treat for a couple of reasons. Number one, Rhett has totally got me into my Lululemon era.
It's a good era.
Yeah, so he actually even blessed me with a shirt last week as a little gift. Courtney and my mom got me some Lululemon gift cards. And Caden let me know, because of this wide angle, you're going to get a little glimpse of the leg today. All right, so you're in for a treat. But even more importantly, we have the man himself, Wiley. I don't know if you can see him back there behind computers and cups, but when I said his name, he woke up. So we're going to let him go back to sleep. But
yes,
you guys got to tune in and see that precious little angel over there. He is just... He's sweet.
He's 99th percentile in height.
And weight.
And weight. So he's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
Big boy. Turned 3 months. Brandon didn't like to hear that because she gets upset.
Rhett comes into the house, like in the room, and he'll be like, guess what? He's 3 months. And I just start ugly
She's like,
crying.
don't tell me that. And I'm
Thanks,
like, what?
Rhett.
This is as small as we'll ever be.
I know.
I'm just giving the reports,
Get
just
out of here.
facts.
And that's perfect. I mean, we're talking about middle of January here, and Courtney and I, when we came over here today, we're like, January feels like the longest month ever, right? I'm sure you guys probably feel the same as well. Coming out of the holidays and how busy that season is, but then you're kind of waiting for kids to go back to school. It was last week or so that I really started getting back to work full time. Mm-hmm. I know you guys are adjusting after little man came and stuff like that. And I can see it on Courtney's face, like she was ready for kids to go back to school. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. It was.
Taking care of two little ones while expecting.
Oh my gosh. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're so
too
close.
much.
Excuse me. They're so close together. They fight so much.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Ours don't do
a
that.
lot.
Yeah,
ours are very well
perfect.
behaved.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Kidding.
Right.
Even the girls fight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They needed separation too.
Yes.
From each other.
They need a break.
The break can be long. And ours went back to stinking school January 9th. I mean, 3 weeks.
3 full weeks.
Yeah, that's
Come on.
pretty wild.
We had 2 weeks in school and I went to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So-
a long time.
The
It's a very-
15th, they got out the 15th and they went back the 9th. Corjan went back the 10th, and it was a sweet
Wow.
departing.
Yeah.
And you know what
See ya,
Monday?
see ya.
You know what Monday is?
What's that?
Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
They
school.
don't have
That's
school.
right. No school. Another break.
Wait,
Another
wait,
break.
wait.
So it's been a long break.
Yeah, but we're getting back in the swing of things. We're glad to be back in 2024, and we joked about it in a way, half-heartedly, but it really is, or they really are, our most requested guest. While we are the house dads, we wouldn't be that without the house moms, the better half. And so, some people know how you guys met, but I think it's good for those who don't that you tell a little bit about your story and how you guys met. Whoever wants to take it away.
Brandee loves to talk, so I'll let her.
Yeah, loves it.
I'm putting Brandee out of her comfort zone here, so I'm proud of her for doing this. But I think I talked a little bit about it, maybe our one of our very first episodes of introducing ourselves. But we met through church. I think we noticed each other through church. I probably noticed her. She's probably like not paying attention.
I was dating someone.
She was dating someone.
Yeah.
She was off limits. I'm 3 years older than her. So I was helping lead a D now. Was it D now?
Yeah.
Either way, I was a leader. She was a youth.
Wow.
And I just kind of kept saying, oh, she's a youth. Stop. You know,
Get your mind right,
She's
right?
beautiful. Let me focus on helping. But yeah, just kind of noticed each other there. And then, over the years, as time passed, we had a mutual friend, and I'll let you share her bold statement.
We have a mutual friend. She's a little bit older than us, but
she's probably 10 years older than us.
yeah. And, but she grew up with Rhett in St. Charles, like where he grew up. And then Rhett moved to Baton Rouge for college. So then we ended up going to the same church. But she grew up with him at that church he was at and then moved to the church I was at. So like double whammy, she knew both of us.
Right.
And she told me, I was still dating someone, but she was like, hey, I know you know of Rhett, but I know Rhett and I know you. I think that y'all should meet. Y'all are going to get married.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, dating someone at the time.
Yeah, probably the definition of a homewrecker.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm kind of glad.
Hey, it
'cause
wasn't that serious, huh?
that dude was a scrub. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. Oh,
Don't want to offend
Sorry
our
if you're
listeners.
He
listening.
might be watching.
he's probably watching every episode. Still
But
bitter.
yeah, she said that, but then not only did she say that, she tried to like pair us up
Make
in
it
the sense of
happen.
inviting
Oh,
us
yeah.
to lunch.
After church, every Sunday after church, my whole family, it's like we're a big NASCAR family. So after church, we go to we would go to Nanny and Papa's house. Everyone, cousins, uncles, aunts, everyone. Roast rice and gravy, we got it every week.
That's a real Southern thing right there.
And watch NASCAR.
roast.
But she said, hey, I want you to come over to eat lunch with my family. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Because we knew each other. It wasn't random.
Right. Sure.
But I was dating someone. And I told him, I was like, oh, you go to Nanny and Papa's. I'm going to do this and I'll meet you. When I get there, she made it seem like she was inviting people. It was her family and me and Rhett.
It was planned.
It was a actual... It was
like,
wasn't
okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Right
yeah,
on the wall
it was
here.
very blunt.
So that was like
Yeah.
the first like interaction. And then we kind of, as again, time passed, kept in touch. Fun fact, I think for like the first month of us talking,
Yeah, we
It was-
only spoke in emojis.
only spoken
You're
emojis
kidding.
through words with friends. Remember that game?
Oh, I do.
We would
Oh
play
my
each other.
gosh.
I would blow her out of the water and beat her every time.
That's
a couple
true.
times I let her win,
Yeah.
but through the chat, we would just kind of send emojis back and forth.
Yeah.
And it kind of escalated, obviously, to finally that same person was like, look, you got to ask her out, stop farting around. So I asked her out and things just kind of.
How long did y'all date before you proposed and all that stuff too?
Dated a year.
I'm gonna take a picture of Wiley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wiley's sleeping if you're
Little
watching the
precious.
video.
God.
It's kind of rare for him to do that.
Precious.
Like that. Dated a year. Engaged a year.
No, we dated probably like 2 years.
Probably like 2 years.
Yeah, a year, 2 years. Same.
The time
I was
flies.
a freshman. I was a freshman. We got in, like 2 years dating.
When you're
We got
having
married while I
fun, you
was-
just don't pay attention to time.
Exactly.
You
It
just
flies by.
you're so in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But yeah, it was a fun little meeting. And Brandy's definitely the type you have to earn that trust, and it
Yeah.
took a lot of work. But here I am today.
That's good.
That's
good.
You
Three,
did it. You
three
made
kids
it.
later, almost 11 years married.
Yep.
But yeah, what about y'all?
Pretty incredible.
Obviously, people want to know about.
Yeah, it's funny some of the similarities with y'all's story as ours as well. Before we get into it, the details, somebody else, your sister, before we ever really thought about each other. Well, maybe she was thinking about me, but
Always.
sorry, babe, just kidding. Her sister, like we ran into each other at the mall and like just didn't like we weren't talking. There was nothing happening there at that point. What'd your sister say?
Oh,
No, you can. It's fine.
I was
She's not
dating
listening.
Somebody else. and
Yes,
she
but
was like,
yeah.
she was like, why aren't you with him?
Oh,
Yeah,
like
but
not
just
to be
like
rude,
not,
to
but
the-
just
she was
like,
just like, he's like you're like perfectly your type,
and
I
she
was like,
saw it. It's just,
what?
it's
I don't
interesting
know.
how other
Yeah,
people
other
can
people notice.
see it,
Mm-hmm.
before
then-
even we did.
and then
Yeah.
home wreck.
Yeah.
No, but I mean that it's similar.
Yeah.
However you want to tell it,
Yeah. Well,
or do you want me to?
you started off.
Okay, so we went to high school together. We both went to Denham, but didn't know each other in high school.
Mhm.
We were a grade apart. And after we graduated, one of my best friends introduced us because he was dating her.
Oh,
So I totally broke bro code.
nice.
No, it was after they
Juicy.
had broken up, before anything happened. But that was how we introduced.
He
Yeah.
said, We only dated for like 2 months.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Okay.
a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like, let's
Check yes or no if you
Yeah, it
wanted to
wasn't
go.
Yeah, it
working
wasn't.
out. We fought like brother and sister.
Yeah,
It was not
They're
working.
still great
We're still
friends. We
friends,
love
but
them. They're incredible.
He said, I remember it was one Wednesday night. I was really involved in our youth group, and he was starting to come, and he was like, I'm going to bring my best friend to meet you because his approval of you is really important to me.
I approve.
You're like,
Random.
yeah, bro, I approve.
I approve.
So
But listen,
swooped in.
no, it is incredible through that. Like they broke up several months later. We started hanging out, talking, and things like that. And I mean, we started dating that year on Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
Never
We
forget
dated for
that.
like 2.5 years, and then
2.5 years. And
our
that same
engagement was
guy,
like-
my best friend then, he had a dream before I had told anybody other than my dad about how I was going to propose to her. He had a dream about it. And so it just just
Yeah.
all came full circle.
we were engaged for about 7 months.
We did it quick.
I wanted a November wedding, but he wanted to do it before his mom
Before
went
my
back
mom
to
went to
school,
school. Yep.
and started teaching again.
Yeah.
So we did August, and it was
Yeah.
So we did a really quick engagement, but this year will be 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
And
Nice.
Emma Grace on the way. Baby girl, wrapping it up. So,
Finishing, completing.
yes.
This is it. She's the last one.
Emma means complete, right?
Does it really?
whole.
How cool
yeah,
is
it's
that?
like universal
Oh,
and
no
whole and
pressure.
complete.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
That's
It's
cool.
kind of part
Beautiful.
of the
Did you know
reason.
that when you
I did.
picked it?
Well,
Maybe she
it's like
did.
a whole thing. I'll have to tell you the story another day, but I had a dream last year on Mother's Day or the night before that basically told me we were going to have a girl in the spring.
Yeah.
And the Lord was like, this baby's going to complete your family. And I knew that meant complete. And I was like, her name's Emma. Like, I
Love
just
it.
knew.
Yeah,
It's kind of a
that's
longer
awesome.
story, but yes.
That's
yeah.
It's beautiful.
Baby names are, they're kind of like tattoos. When someone tells you a name,
Yeah.
you just got to say, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
But-
all you can
Yeah.
do.
But I will say Emma's a really pretty name.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It's
Appreciate
very,
that.
like, simple. So it's like,
I
Yeah.
think
you
it's
should
cute
not
Southern
like it.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good
Thank
name.
you.
Wiley is a family name.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard the name Wiley
I
until
never heard it till y'all named it.
yeah. And I was like, I've never heard it. So of course I'm thinking everybody's gonna make fun of him. I'm like, no. The more we talked about it, love it.
It's
I
my
love that
great
y'all
uncle's
told-
name.
Yeah.
He passed away, and that was the only Wiley I
Yeah.
knew. But then my grandma, like after Wiley was here, my grandma was like, you know what? We just found out that my grandpa's name was Wiley.
Oh, wow. How cool.
And she was like, I didn't know because we just
Gosh.
called him Pawpaw.
sure.
Yeah.
And so, but her sister was like, did you know that his name was Wiley?
That's neat.
So it was like
Cool.
on both sides of the family. We had so sweet.
He's got some pawpaw hair in the back
Oh
too.
yeah,
So.
Yeah,
I
it's
like a good
fitting.
Pawpaw name. I like an
It's
old
fitting.
name.
You
I
call him
love it.
Smiley Wiley.
Smiley Wiley.
He's
That's
That's so
precious.
cute.
He's precious.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
Similar.
mean, I guess we dive right in with some heavy hitting questions.
Oof.
I think we've talked about this in previous episodes too, that you're talented. You're an incredible realtor, incredible dad, incredible guy, but you're better known as Brandee's husband.
Yes. That's more so.
But also, we need to make sure that for the audience out there that's been following, that we practice what we preach. Like I
Yeah.
said, we took a break. And so, Brandee, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Okay. So, we make sure, but we want to be honest and transparent. We struggle with things too. So, this is a good opportunity for a SWOT analysis of Rhett. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Tell us something that Rhett does really well and maybe something he could, work on a little bit. I know, heavy hitting.
I know.
You can start with the bad if you want.
I'll start with the bad.
Okay, good. I like that.
Get out of the way.
Let's come out of the gate.
But I feel like it's not like the worst thing in the
Yeah.
world. But the thing that we argue about the most, we don't really have like these intense fights, arguments, but a consistent argument we do have is when we need to leave the house to be somewhere at what time, and him being late because he's trying to be right on time, but he doesn't buffer for XYZ that might happen. I like to be places 15 minutes early. I was raised in a household that was like, if you're late, that's disrespectful.
Right.
You don't disrespect people's time.
To be
And
fair,
Rhett-
I was too.
To be fair, he was too.
I
And
guess I
I
didn't stick.
listened. But Rhett just wants to be right on time. So he doesn't want to be late.
Sure.
But he doesn't, I'll think, okay, what if there's traffic? What if something happens? And then I'm fine because I budgeted in some extra time. And Rhett is like, everything has to go perfect, and I'll get there right on time. And then nothing goes perfect, so he's a little late.
Are we allowed to give her like rebuttals?
I was about to say,
No.
Rhett, what do you
this?
have to say for
Okay,
yourself?
you can defend
Look,
yourself
here's the
if you
thing.
want.
Yes, Yes, I agree. It is a
So there's not
flaw.
much defending.
I just like to be productive with my time. So if I'm like, all right, if I'm sitting somewhere for 15 minutes, what else could I be doing in that 15 minutes? And it's usually, I just try to fit everything in.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, usually
I'm
something
the
super
same
important.
way, and I'm working on it. And it's funny you mentioned that because I'm like trying to, in my head, if I have to be somewhere at 8, I'm like, no, I have to be there at 7:45 because
Mhm.
I will like go start some laundry. If I'm like, oh, I have 2 minutes,
Mhm.
I'm like, let me see what I can get done.
And it always takes longer than that, and then you're
Yep,
late.
and then you're late.
I'm very much with you, Brandee,
is.
because I grew up in a house where love my parents. They're incredible. They were late to everything. And so I would be dragging my entire family out of the door.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I kind of
Yeah.
do a little bit of the same too. It's time to go.
That's
It's time to go.
funny.
It's time to go. And that's always a nerve wracking thing is to go check on Courtney when she's getting ready and you peer around the bathroom door and you're
Like
like,
how far along
I'm like
did she
blow
get?
drying my
doing?
hair.
Like,
He's like,
oh,
you're
okay.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's risky. But
Yeah.
no, that's not too bad, Rhett. I mean,
Thank
there could
you.
be a lot of worse things, but
Yeah, I think
get it
so,
together.
too.
Okay.
I will say,
Just
and like I've
change.
been saying for the past almost 11 years, I'm working on it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just keep riding with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess now the good
good.
thing.
Yeah, you
There's
can-
probably so much.
Oh yeah.
No, just pick one.
Just pick one. I feel like me and Rhett talked about this. We talked about this morning. I am Rhett's biggest fan, loyal to the death. Probably a flaw
That's pretty good.
of I need to probably loosen up of being so loyal about some things. But he is just the best dad. I feel like he's just good at balancing
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And not perfect. Like no one's perfect, but like I don't feel like being at home with the kids all day. Whenever he gets home, like we've had some older couples in our life that would be like, okay, well, whenever he gets home, you give him some space to
Right.
decompress.
Yep.
He's had a long day and and then let him, whatever. And I remember thinking, okay. But Rhett is just, as soon as he gets home, he's like, hey, how can I help? You go
Yeah.
take some time. You've been really busy today. Waking up with me during the night with Wiley, with all 3 of the girls. And Madison was a horrible sleeper. So that was horrible. But he gets up with, I just feel like we're a team and where it's I feel like it would be easy for him to be like, hey, I'm doing a lot of stuff.
Right.
Like, I'm going to just kind of let you take the reins on with the parenting. But I feel like he is a good team player, balances things really well, and walks in excellence in like each
Yeah.
area of his life, which I think is awesome
Pretty cool.
and
man.
pretty rare.
Yeah. I know you'd feel uncomfortable talking about yourself.
Yeah, I don't
but
really like hearing this.
that's
I
one-
like hearing it, but I'm
that's
like,
one
what
thing
do
I
do?
really admire about you too, is that in specifically, like you talked about getting up throughout the middle of the night and getting up with you, because Courtney didn't breastfeed. So it was really easy. I'd say easier for me to get up and say, no, you know what, you rest, or let me get up with you and let me feed the boys. Well, regardless for you said, no, I'm not going to let you do that alone. And so I just think that's special, that a lot of people would say, oh, no, I can't really help. So I'm going to take that as a cop out to sleep.
Yeah.
And so, I think it speaks volumes to practicing what you preach.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
Try. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Kind of one of the reasons we started this podcast
Yeah.
was to kind of, help bring other husbands and significant others up. But I don't like when people they're okay with the husbands just
Yeah.
putting all on them, but they
Completely
think it's
separate
normal.
roles.
They're not upset even. They're just kind of they think it's normal. I'm like, that's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can step
Yeah.
up.
And we've talked about it, and I think it is a generational thing to a degree, because you and I have always said, I think people, especially about the real estate profession, but regardless of your profession, they think, oh, it wasn't that hard of a day. It's exhausting a lot of days. And you get home and, if we kind of dove into what would feel more comfortable, it's like, let me just go to my room and take 20 or 30 minutes before. But it's, how can I give my best all day long to everybody else and then walk in the door
Right.
and be like, y'all give me a minute? It's
Yeah.
like, no, I want to come
Yeah.
in the door. My boys, soon to be Emma Grace and her, see Dad's excited to be home.
Yeah.
It's the best part of my day.
For sure.
So I love that you do that
That's
too.
why we don't say anything when the men use the bathroom for 45 minutes. Just let you do it.
Maybe that's just me. Thanks for shooting
I'm
shot.
sorry.
at me.
45 minutes.
No, it's not.
Jeez.
That's like
45
a common
minutes.
joke about.
My gosh. Anyway,
I'm
no. I'm
joking.
kidding.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll give Courtney the stage now. Enough about us. Give us the same, the nitty gritty, something Brandon could possibly improve on, and then something good about it.
Drama.
Yeah, give us some real good,
we
juicy
go.
stuff.
You can only choose one bad thing. Don't
Well,
do all of them.
I was trying to think of like something small, like little.
Something
Give us-
small.
You don't really do any. You don't really.
What you mean? You don't want to say the big ones? Is that what you're saying?
No, and I think I told y'all this before, but like, and y'all were like, oh my gosh, but I tell him all the time, I'm like, you don't really do much wrong.
That's
Like,
not true.
I'm not trying to be like dismissive of, things here and there, but I just feel like he does a really good job. The same thing you said, like balancing life and being a team with us. But I guess, like just swallowing your pride when it comes to not being right.
Yep.
That would be it.
Well, I appreciate you having a hard time saying what I'm bad at, but let me double down because maybe some other people can do it, or maybe some other people can relate, because I consider myself to be a good dad and a good husband. That can lead to some built up pride in me. And so when she does mention like, hey babe, like you left the house this morning, thank you for letting me getting the boys ready, but every morning we brush their teeth and comb their hair, and
That
I
was
did
this
not.
morning.
I did not brush their teeth.
I was like, you didn't brush
and I
their
did not
teeth.
comb their hair. And so at
But he
first
got
I'm
them
like,
ready.
well, I'm really good. Like I really did.
Yeah,
It's
but I
like,
did this.
I know it's so hard.
I
That's
get
why
defensive.
I don't even want
And
to
it's
say
pride.
anything.
No, but it's
But
good is not good enough. Good is not just okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I still don't want to just get defensive and just be like, oh, well, I'm better than this, or at least I did this. That's never a place that's pride. And so I'm glad to say it. Yes, it's something that I need to work on.
And it's not. I really do feel like y'all are like the real deal. I mean,
No, I appreciate
I'm not
that.
just saying that. I think y'all are the perfect people for this podcast. But with that being said, so you. Like, I hate stealing your answer, but you just really
go for it.
are so good at being like, he always says we're on the same team, and I love that. And like the boys in the car before school will put our hands in and do team reshoe like before they get
Nice.
out. Because I just always want them to know we're on the same team. But he's just really good at balancing everything. And then like you were talking about, like he bathes them every night. I mean, mainly because I can't get on the floor anymore and bathe them. I'm like heading into my third trimester, but like he doesn't complain. He just does it, and then I don't know. You just do a really great job at loving us and making us feel good. And then, but the youth that we're over say the same thing. Like they feel like he is all in for them. And so I'm like, if y'all could only see all the things he's juggling, but he's just doing so good at. And I think it comes with just putting the Lord first. Like when you have everything, prioritized, right? It kind of all falls into place.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, that was, when thinking of the podcast, I'm like, all right, who could be a good person? And I'm like, obviously me and Brandon are in the same industry.
Right.
We could see each other as competition, but I just know we both kind of have these same core values. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to a flaw.
Yeah. Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say one of my flaws, and I'll ask you if something you struggle with too. Our job as real estate people are to solve problems.
Yeah.
Right.
I can already see where you're going. Continue.
Literally, people all day just throw problems at us. It's our job to fix it quickly, and most effectively. So I often will bring that into, Brandee and I's conversations. When she presents a problem or a struggle, I go into fix it mode like immediately.
100%.
And if you're a husband now listening, or a future husband or aspiring husband, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just
100%.
don't try to fix it immediately, or maybe even at all. But do you struggle with the same?
100%. I mean, it's like, it's not the same, but it's similar to nobody cares what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah.
Obviously our wives know that we care, but it's like, I don't need a solution. I don't need you to fix this. I just want you to hear me.
Yeah.
Just be
listen.
there.
Yeah, and I
So-
think that comes too from our perspective. I don't know if this is how you feel, but like you're the person I go to talk to about things. So it's really, it's almost like a best friend. Like I'm really just, you're my best friend and I just want to talk. Like, so
I don't need to fix it.
I don't know if that's how you feel too.
Yeah.
I feel like it used to be way worse in the beginning of marriage, because I would say something really just like chit-chatting with my friend, and then he would be like, well, so what are the steps that we can do to solve this issue? And I'm like, no.
write out a
Like, I
plan.
got this. I just want to like,
Just listen. I'm
I
like,
want to say gossip because I'm not gossiping,
Sure.
but like,
This is what's
Vent
going on.
it
Get it out.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
need to talk about
but I
this.
feel like now you're a lot better with, you'll say, okay, do you need to, like, what do you need from me?
Right.
Is this like a fix it time, or is it just like we're just
It's good.
Like you just need me to listen. And
Yeah.
I feel like that has took a few years, but
I think most of the time it's just listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've learned, I think the thing for me in my mind is when you're telling me something just full transparency may not be as heavy or mean as much to me, then I'm just like, I just want to fix it.
Yep.
And that's where I'm really learning what we preach and I need to practice is that her burden is my burden.
Yep.
So it's like if she's talking about some difficulties she's having with friends or something like that, well, then I'm like, let's call them right now. Let's fix it. Because I'm not worried about confrontation. I'm not like, let's just fix it. Or if it's something with the boys, I'm like, all right, let's pull them in right here.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, now let me just share that burden. Let me hold on to it with her.
Yep.
That's what marriage is about. And let me be compassionate about it and not try and fix it. So easier said than done.
Well, cool. We're on the same page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For
Awesome.
sure.
Well, yeah. So there you go. We're not hypocrites. We actually try to practice what we
Yeah,
preach. But no,
100%.
I'm really not good at like hearing compliments and receiving things. So
no.
that was hard for me.
Receive that, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank
It's funny
you.
how
Yeah.
opposite you guys are.
Brandon loves to hear.
I'm joking.
No, I do,
We're
for real.
both like that. It's not just
Man,
him.
I grew up in a house. You need to talk about the 5 love languages. My mom and dad, like, oh my gosh, they're incredible, and like they let me know that they
still
just, man, like I was the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that the real world humbled me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because going out into it, I'm like, man,
You're like, wait a
nothing
minute.
can touch you, boy.
I'm
And then I
special.
learned pretty quickly that it can. But yeah, I receive a compliment.
I'm messing.
Nice.
I receive them.
Yeah. Well, so transitioning a little bit, literally on the topic of transition, both of you currently stay at home moms, but I know it wasn't always like that.
Right.
So Courtney, kind of turn it to you. Tell us about, I guess, kind of like the journey, lack of a better word, from transitioning from working to stay at home, and kind of how that looked for y'all.
Well, I taught high school marketing for 4 years. Loved it so much. I have a business degree. It's kind of crazy how it all worked out,
It
but I have a
is.
business degree. Wasn't going to go into teaching, but my former marketing teacher was like, "Hey, I'm retiring." And it was like the same month I was graduating. And she's like, "Would you be interested in," because she built up this program and she wanted to train someone to take it. And I was like, I don't know. Let me come shadow you. And so long story short, I took her job, loved it, did it for 4 years, had Max during that time. And then we got pregnant with Lucas in 2020, like right before COVID shut
Classic.
everything down. And I was pregnant, teaching from home with a toddler. And
Yuck.
we found out, I think, we were over at college and young adults. And then in February of 2020, we were asked to take on the youth too. So we became youth pastors, and then everything shut down. So we were like online youth pastors, online college pastors. I was teaching from home with a toddler, pregnant, all these
lot of
things,
stuff.
just so much.
Yeah.
And then I went back to school the next year, and I was having a really hard time. I was like really, really struggling. I had him in September. I was having some serious postpartum, like worse than ever before, postpartum depression, had to go to counseling. And I had kind of tossed the idea around of staying at home. And every time he was like, I just don't know how that's going to work. Like completely just taking an income
Right.
and our health insurance and just like throwing it out the window. It was,
Yeah.
it was like, we just don't know how this is going to work. And, but I knew, I was like, this isn't working. I was breaking down like every night when I got home.
Yeah.
I was just so overwhelmed. And then I think in January of 2021, I came to you one night.
I'll tell you, before you continue with that, I think it's interesting from my perspective. Anytime we'd have those conversations, I knew with everything we had on our plate, something was going to need to give. But, you know, we were in a strange transition period in our business, real estate wise, and again, juggling all the plates that we had to juggle. I was just insecure about how, like just providing for my family, what the future was going to hold. And then obviously cost of health insurance and things like that. I'm like, man, that security, that paycheck that comes in every month is nice. And we were doing fine. And I knew had been doing real estate as long as we had. I knew that we'd continue to do well and do okay enough, but there was going to have to be a sacrifice. Something was going to have to be cut back. We had some plans to do some investment stuff and do a couple flips and things like that. But where it all came to a head is I'll never forget one night you were out with the girls doing a Bible study, doing something at a friend's house. And I was watching the boys. And this was right in the middle of that COVID season. And that's when Warzone was big time.
Nice.
So we were hopping on the Xbox every time the kids would go to bed, and me and the boys would play Xbox. I was so tired after laying the boys down that night from just a long week. I'll never forget. It was a Friday night. I put the boys down, laid on top of the bed covers, didn't get underneath, and was just like, Lord, something's got to give. I'm exhausted. I know that I need to prioritize something different. Something's got to change. No less than an hour later,
That was the night.
she comes home and says, Brandon, I think I want to quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, Lord.
Yeah.
But the health insurance, but it's like, no, I prayed for an
Yeah.
answer and I got one so quickly, and we had been praying through it. And so the Lord really, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have to sacrifice some things, but like, would I rather choose to invest in my family's future financially, or would I rather choose to invest in their spiritual health,
Yeah.
their mental health? And it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So.
And I really struggled with it though, because I loved my job so much. Like I do love working.
And you were so good at it.
And I had just been named teacher of the year
She
too.
did.
Oh,
And
we're
every
like,
time we go
sweet.
back,
Peace out.
Yeah.
I was like,
Go out
sorry
with a bang.
guys.
and that's
bye.
every
But-
time we go back, and we'll get to Brandy's story too. Like, everybody knows Brandy is so good at what she does. And every time we would go to a high school football game, they'd be like, when's Courtney coming back? Like, we miss Courtney. They loved her, and she was so good at what she did.
I did love it so much, but I just was like, God, if this is your plan for us, give Brandon peace when I bring it up, and he
Yeah.
responded
Sure
that way,
did.
and so the following year, I started staying home with both of them, and it's been the best decision
Yeah.
one of the best decisions I've ever made, but it hasn't always been easy. I'm sure you can attest to that. Sometimes I get insecure because I'm like, well, I'm not contributing to help pay for things, or, and I feel guilty when I spend money sometimes, or not that he ever makes me feel that way, but I don't know. And then sometimes it's lonely. Like, there's always going to be
Yeah.
pros and cons, but
Yeah.
that's how the transition happens.
I think we can get into a little bit more of the difficulties and complexities, the good
Yeah.
stuff, bad stuff after this. But y'all are in a similar place now, but y'all's transition was different.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about kind of, what Brandy did before and all that, and how it all led to how things are now.
Yeah, I went to LSU for painting and drawing. So I mean, that's not a job security.
I'm sure that's
type,
the degree everybody was
degree.
like, Brandy, how are you gonna pay the bills?
She would tell me some of her professors would literally discourage them from
Oh, wow.
selling
Really?
like art.
They
right?
would just be like, "Hey, there's about 500 of y'all. 2 of y'all are gonna actually make
Whoa,
it as artists. So just like think about that. Like
Wow.
I highly doubt any more than that's gonna like actually pursue
Sure.
art." And I was
Cool.
like, "Well, frick you.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna do this." But I loved it, and I felt very much a peace about pursuing that degree. My parents were super supportive of it. Like, I changed from nursing to painting and
Wow.
drawing.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so that's only God for everyone to be like, that's great decision. But I graduated, and I did basically art for like a few years, and we did youth at our church, like heavily volunteered, basically on staff.
A little hapsy.
without the pay.
Right, right.
But then we finally did get on, like, I was on staff doing youth and with Rhett, and so took a step back from art, and then we decided that we felt called to be foster parents, and we got licensed, and the next day we got a call for a baby girl, and
Wow.
then a newborn, and who is Madison, who we adopted since. But I was like, this is a lot to do a lot of juggling art, youth, and I was working at a boutique a little bit too at the time, like part-time, and then a mom, and I'm like, oh. So we prayed about it, and we waited till the youth kind of graduated in May, and we're like, this is a good transition. We'll just wait till these kiddos graduate, finish strong, and then this summer I'll just transition out and just stay with Mads
Right.
at home. And then it was hard. And I was thinking, we're just going to hang out all day. This is
Yeah.
awesome. And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But did that and had Core Jane November 2019, was staying at home. And then a job opportunity came at Anthropology to be their like display coordinator, which I just basically designed and built out all their installations. It was the coolest job in the whole world. And I did that for like 2 years, almost 2 years. And then we felt God tugging our hearts to open our home back up to foster care again. We were still active foster parents, but we just kind of took a break with I didn't have postpartum depression, but I had major postpartum anxiety, and it just took a toll on me. And so we were just like, let's just let you have an outlet with art. Like, this is a great job. This is really cool. This is literally what you went to school for. You get to like use power tools and build these really incredible things all day. Cool. Like it was sick. Yeah. But then we finally were like, we both felt like, hey, this is not like long-term. It was a really sweet season, but like we need to like, something's going to change. So I think like the week that I decided like that I like was home, we got a call for a little boy. And so it just felt like confirmation of like, that was a good, like that was, cause like if I were to be working there and we got that call, I probably would have to say no. Yeah. So we were able to say yes. So then I just stayed home and then I got pregnant with Wiley like the next year. And so now we're just doing the stay-at-home thing, and it's awesome. But it's felt very much like every transition has been very much like confirmed. Like we felt like a piece about each time. Like, oh, I don't know if this is right. It was like very much like, no, this was exactly when it needed to happen. But I love that job. I love my Antho job so much. Yeah.
I saw I think it was yesterday. It was like some post, and it was like a study shows that stay-at-home mom is like or stay-at-home parent is actually the hardest job ever. And I want to be like, you had to do a study for that? Like, it's pretty commonly known.
They had to do a whole lot of research on that.
But so I know, being a stay-at-home mom, but also being a working mom, you're a parent, not necessarily just moms. I feel like both can provide a little guilt of like, okay, I'm away from my kids if I'm working. Or like you even mentioned, like if you're stay at home, you feel a little guilty of like, I want to help provide or whatnot. So I guess speak to that a little bit if one of y'all wouldn't mind of like what, I guess what you personally went through. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but was that something pressing for y'all?
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I'll talk about, I guess I'll talk a little bit about working. So, because when I was working full time and excuse me, y'all, I have my big cup over here. I was trying to hide it, but
it's all right. The whole camera.
It's not Stanley. It's okay.
My voice keeps going out. So anyways, when I was working, we had so many ministry things during the week and on the weekends that we were constantly getting babysitters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but it was a huge guilt of just not being there. And I still sometimes feel regretful or guilty, like that I missed our oldest, like his first couple of years. Like I just feel like I missed out on a lot. But I think if I was still working though, I mean, I don't think there's people who are not called, we talked about this before, to be stay-at-home moms. And so if you are a working mom, I think it's just about balancing like and letting your expectations not be so high for things, and being able to say no to things. That's one of the things that the Lord's really been working with me on, is being okay to miss a couple of things, like even ministry events. Like there might be times where I'm like, hey, you're going to go, you need to do this youth thing. Like I need to be with the kids. And so I don't know. I think it's just about balancing that and just not letting that guilt overtake you, because then it's like you look back and you're like, oh, I spent all those years just feeling guilty and bad. And like you just didn't enjoy it. And so I think you just learn how to balance and say no to things and give yourself grace. Sweet baby.
He's awake.
He woke up and he's like, what is going on with these lights?
Been doing so good. Yeah.
Can you speak to, I think another part of it, Courtney, the other side of now that you are staying at home, you're not providing income, because you are providing, but maybe not providing income in a certain way. I mean, how do you I could answer it for you, but I don't want to.
Well, it's more than just providing income. I think my personality and my like just who I am. I really like to be successful. Like I really want to be like, that's just something.
Your own deal.
Yeah. And like, even, like I want to dress up and go to a job and like that. I don't know. That's just like my thing. Like I just want that and I want to do well at it. And so I think sometimes that's what gets me is like not having something that, and like I know being a mom is like, that's my number one. It's always going to be my number one job and my most important job. But I think sometimes I'm like, I want that. Like I want something that's like mine and that you would be proud of, and I could be proud of, and that I am contributing. But
it's a sacrifice.
It's not all the time. That's honestly rarely like that creeps up in my mind because I really am so thankful and love staying at home with the boys. But sometimes it does. So
it's a sacrifice and it's hard. I mean, we try and combat against it where it's for ministry stuff. It's on Wednesday nights after we go. I mean, she'll go and grab the kids and bring them home, and I'm going to Chick-fil-A to hang out with the students for a little bit longer. And it's things like that where she gets the short end of the stick. And
sometimes, and sometimes I do feel guilty. I'm like, man, I'm not making relationships as much as I want with our youth, but but I don't know. You just like I said, you got to balance it.
Have it all.
You can't feel guilty about it.
We try and combat against it too, where it's like reminding you that we wouldn't be able to do what we do with the brokerage, wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for everything that you did in the first place. You're providing in a different way. And I learned very early on, interning and doing like financial services and sales there. She never asked somebody, well, do you work? It's like for a stay-at-home mom, well, do you work? No, it's do you work outside the home? Right.
That's
pro tip, because stay-at-home moms do work.
They are working.
It's just a different type of work. It's not necessarily out of the house, but in the house. So it's complex, but it's good. And I think just to echo what they're saying too, not only could you maybe not be called to be a stay-at-home mom, like y'all were talking about, there's moms that they just don't want to, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like you want to do what you're doing, and then practically too. Like sometimes just financially, it just doesn't work. And so we just want to speak to that for a minute to say, hey, like can't be that guilt is something that you don't need to live with. It's just it's not something that you can change all the time. So
Brandee often will tell me, I just feel guilty that I'm not able to, like you say, provide. I'm like, trust me, you are helping. Like,
but then whenever we want to do something, we have to get like during the day, like getting a babysitter, and it's like, it's so hard to find childcare. And it's like, well, that's like paying for that. Like that's what we're doing. Like childcare. I mean, we're not babysitters, but you know what I mean? Like, but like the amount of money you would spend to do what we do is a full-time
that's right.
plus.
So you're offsetting.
But it is hard because you're like, okay. And then as a mom, you have so much pressure to be the fun mom and you're good at disciplining, and you're not going to yell. You're not going to raise your voice because you're a gentle mom. And then you're like, there's all these pressures outside of, let me just stay at home and like be with my children. It's like you have to be creative. Then you have to keep a clean house, and it has to be cute, and you have to you have to create memories because it's their childhood. It's like all this pressure. It's just like hard to. It's not necessary. It's like added on pressure that you shouldn't put on yourself. But it's hard when the world is like, you have to be perfect at everything in order for your children to grow up okay.
Well, we can probably thank social media for that.
Social media.
Red, I'm going to skip ahead one here because I think with what Brandee was saying, it kind of tees off perfectly to this next question is like, how do you, when you get those thoughts, when you get those feelings, how do you protect your mind against that? Like, I know, because even the days that like I'll give Courtney a break and I'm staying home with the boys, that mundane can get a little like, you can get a little lost in it. So I don't know. How do you protect your mind against, I don't know, just that struggle? It's a big one. It's just a big, open, general question.
I feel like for me, when I get,
there it is.
when I start feeling like that, I feel like I don't do it all the time, but what I try to do is to remember like how God created me, of like I know that I'm a creative person. So like, maybe I will do cool things with my girls that other people would be like, oh, I didn't think about that. But like, I was told, Red, I was like, I'm not going to be a sourdough mom. Like, I'm not baking sourdough right now. Like, that's not my era. Like, or homeschooling. That's not me. Like, I'm not called to that. I have zero desire for that. But that's awesome for the other moms. Like, I'm owning the like learning about myself and how God created me. And I'm just like walking in those ways with my girls because God created me for them and Wiley. But like, really owning and being like, okay, this is how I am. This is how I operate. And I'm going to like walk in this.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is my purpose. Like I am creative. I'm going to do these cool crafts with my girls, or I'm going to do this. I will not homeschool them. At least not right now, unless God, but like, I have a friend who's like killer at that. And I'm like, I love that for you. And it would be easy to be like jealous or compare, but I'm like, no, like that is how God created you. And I'm so happy. And he did not create you to be creative.
Yeah.
But that's cool that I get to have that. And then we can help each other out.
That's good.
But I think it's nice to have like a community. Like my friend, she has 3 boys and she's just great at being a boy mom. And I'm like, I need what you have. I don't have that yet. Like having your village and your community to help whenever it gets mundane and you're like, what am I doing? It's like, God created me with these gifts. Let me use them.
That's huge. That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
What exactly did
I guess
you ask again?
how do you protect your mind when it goes to that, like, where's my purpose? Where's my value? Where's my worth when you're raising kids?
I guess you have to just rewire your thoughts sometimes because like I will get very, very down on myself when I feel like our day when I feel like maybe I wasted the day, or look back and I'm like, wait, I chose to be a stay-at-home mom and I just like didn't spend hardly any time with them, or they were frustrating me all day or whatever. I just kind of rewire, like try to retrain my thoughts. Like when those things creep up.
Yeah.
Just tell myself, like, not to be prideful, but like you're doing a great job, or and what she said too, like, this is what you were called to do. Like I am not crafty at all. I'm not like creative. I'm like, all right, let's get some coloring books out. But Max the other day, I sat and colored with him while Lucas was napping, and it meant the world to him. Like we were coloring Christmas coloring books. And it just like the whole day, his attitude towards me changed. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is all I need to do sometimes. And so just little things like that, like, just and giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're doing a good job, you know?
Yeah. And when I came home, that's all he wanted to show me and tell me about.
I know.
Yeah.
Was all the pictures that they colored and did and things like that.
I saw this video once, or maybe it was like someone on social media posted it, but it was like a mom who had a really hard day, like was not a very gentle parent, like maybe raised her voice, or they were like a power struggle with the strong-willed kids, and she just felt defeated at the end of the day. But the dad came home and asked the little girl, like, hey, like, what'd y'all do today? And the little girl was like, Mama played hide and seek with me. And we, like she remembered, like, I just feel like there's like a filter that God can maybe place on, like that they're just going to remember the good stuff and not necessarily, there's bad stuff. But like, I feel like God can like kind of let them just like see the good.
Yes.
Like yesterday, I thought we had a good day, but there was a couple moments and I was like, I said this, and I'll always say like, hey, I did not want to talk like that. Can I please apologize? Can we start over? And that's, so I kept thinking like, oh, Madison's gonna remember this for the rest of her life. She's gonna have to go to counseling. And then she was like, I love that you let us ride scooters in the house today. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not like,
man, I
like defeated right now.
That's powerful. I think that's from the Lord. Like it just reminds me, like that's why God tells us to have childlike faith. Because when we're children, we are more innocent, and we choose to see the good in people. And I think more than anything, we choose to see the good in our parents. Yeah. And so it's easy for us to feel condemned as bad parents when we feel like 90% of the time we're making the mistakes, but our kids really do. Now, obviously, we want to be the best parents we can be, right? But more often than not, it's that 10% good, if you will, that they see and that they remember. So that's a good reminder. I'm glad you said that. That was a good reminder for me.
I think it's somebody said one time, you don't really know if you did a good job until, or you don't really get the thank you for doing what you do until later in life. Like right now is a stage where or at least for me, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm like, thank you, Mom, for everything you did for me.
Exactly.
And like now they're finally seeing, wow, I'm appreciated. Because like, you know, Brandee and I'm sure Courtney too, like you do so many fun things with your kids to create memories. Like Christmas, like you have these expectations, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. And you get the tantrums, or
like
you get
this, what other gifts do I get?
Like,
I'm like,
the ungratefulness, and you're like, well, they're not seeing my efforts and me trying, but they do. Yeah. But you don't see it till later in life.
Yeah. And I think there's so much pressure too, because there's all these statistics and studies that come out and say, oh, well, your child's, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but your child's character or their most formative years
Like
are
the
by like
first
3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, crap.
it's over by 5. Like you can't change anything. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
I think I changed a lot from 5 to 15
Yeah.
and then 15 to 20.
I don't remember much in those years.
I think
myself.
that gives you a lot of pressure that it's like there's no growth, there's no chance after that.
Yeah.
So it's just we carry too much pressure and we should.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a good ending spot.
I think
good?
it's great.
Yeah. I thought it was
Is there
good.
anything else y'all would like to
Anything
add?
else you want to? I guess I'll end with the
No.
question of like any sort of like encouragement
That's good.
you would want to give to whether it's a stay-at-home mom or parent, or working mom or parent. Any sort of encouragement you'd want to give them from whether your experience or something you've heard or something you're working on, anything at all.
I think I would just say like, I can't believe I'm about to share this. It's so embarrassing, but
Please.
just that you're not alone in like the things that you're going through or feeling, and to give this, I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but to give you an example, last night Max told me, because I was getting onto them. Long story short, I was foam rolling because my hips are killing me because I'm pregnant and I'm in pain, and they kept trying to knock me off of it, and I was like, what? I was getting so frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't funny. I'm pregnant. And they didn't like me getting onto them. And long story short, he said, "You're too much. I want a different mom." And we had a really good talk about it. And
Yeah.
he's like, apologized. And yes, it hurt so bad last night. But I was like, I just was thinking about it. And I was like, I never would want anyone to ever know he said this. I honestly thought that last night. But now I'm like, I not that every kid says that, but just there might be a mom out there who like is really struggling with their kid, or maybe there's something else that they said or have done. So I just want people to know that like, you're not alone. Like, what you see on social media is not just how it is. Like, no one's perfect. And so just to know that we're all in this together and we're all dealing with similar things.
Yeah.
So
I will say one of my favorite things with social media lately is like when I feel like we're struggling with something with our kids, and I'm like, I wonder if anyone's going through this.
right.
A reel will pop up like making light of that situation. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
Yep.
we're good.
Everybody else is too.
Okay, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. We had lunch was a couple weeks ago whenever we went to get lunch, and you were saying, I forget what, basically we both had a hard parenting day. And I feel like I'm really specific about what I'll post on social media. And I feel like I might give the impression that our girls are perfect or whatever, but I do feel the like importance to protect their like vulnerability, like their vulnerable moments. Like if they're having a meltdown, I'm never going to post that because I just feel like it's not
Right.
fair or safe for that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it does make you feel like, okay, well, their kids would never say they want a new mom.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, I bet every kid has said that at one
Yeah.
point.
Right.
But it really is like hard to, unless you're like your best friends, you don't really open up about those
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, oh no, you're probably a great mom and your kids
Right.
love you so much and respect you and listen the first time, every time. But it really was nice to be like, oh, okay, you had a really hard day. Okay, I almost didn't come because I was just over it and it's noon.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like having the mindset of you're not alone. Everyone is going through it, and kids are just like crazy and awesome and fun.
All of it.
But
Yeah.
and then whatever season God puts you in, if you need, like, maybe you have to work at this moment, like you need 2 incomes, or maybe you have the ability to stay at home, or maybe you just want to work.
Right.
I feel like whatever God has you, whatever season God has you in, there's purpose and meaning in it, and it not to compare. Because
That's good.
if you were to do the same thing as someone else because it looks so great, you could miss out on a lot that God has for you in that season.
Yes.
Whenever you say yes to something that's not yours to say yes to. So just kind of like owning like where you're at, knowing that it's going to be hard. Every like option is hard, but God has something for us in each of them, and it's
good.
important.
It's so good.
Love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe just give them the podcast.
Yeah, I think
House
so.
Moms.
From now
House
on, I think
Officially
you
the
guys
house
would like that.
Kick y'all out of here.
That'll be our.
And to be clear, what we were talking about at lunch was that we had both coincidentally locked our kids outside.
Yeah, we both locked.
we were both
I
done.
didn't lock it, but I told my girls it was locked.
I did lock them outside.
she leaned into the mic to make sure y'all heard that. But no, I mean that's why we started this is to let other people know that you're not alone. To build a community of people saying, hey, we don't have it all figured out, but we are trying to move in the direction of getting better And it's not getting better just for the sake of getting better, but for each other, for our spouses, for our families, and ultimately for the Lord. And so we're just glad that you guys tuned in. Share this with somebody, a mom or a dad who may be struggling and just needs some encouragement, that they're not alone. I hope that this would be some encouragement for you, that you'd feel uplifted, and again, that you're not alone. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.